Well, good morning, everybody. And no offense to the water people, but I'm pleased we have a lot of wastewater people in the house because you're going to appreciate this first topic, which is about the war on wipes and Central Sand's approach to that. So since you're here, I wanted to kind of show you our, well, here's our district from bird's eye view. And I kind of wanted to show you our trading card, if you will, about Central Sand. So we had in 2013 an average dry weather flow of 33.8 MGD. Our permitted capacity is 53.8 MGD. We are one of only 2 sewage sludge incinerators in California, and with Palo Alto planning to move to anaerobic digestion in the near future, we're going to be alone real soon. We serve approximately 470,000 people and 3,000 businesses in our 146 square mile service area. And as you can probably guess from our name, it's in central Contra Costa County. We have over 1,500 miles of sewer collection system, and as a result, we're keenly aware of the wipes issue that I'll be telling you about. We do have a household hazardous waste collection facility, which I hope you noticed on your way in. As you're on your way back out, it's on the left side, the last facility there, so take a peek of that whenever you're driving by. And with that facility, we collect approximately 2 million pounds of household hazardous waste every year and, keep it out of sewers, out of storm drains, out of the trash, and either recycle it or properly dispose of it. And then finally, we have what I like to refer to as a cute little recycle water program. We, at our peak in the summer, are producing 2.5 MGD, of which about 1 million of that we use in our plant. So it's pretty cute and pretty tiny. We have a lot of potential, though. So on to the topic today, wipes. So early last summer, a story broke about fats, oils, and grease, or FOG as we call it, and baby wipes combining in a London sewer to form a 15-ton mound the size of a school bus, a double-decker school bus, that is. London's Fatberg went viral and helped bring the world's attention to the issues caused by flushing these plastic products that have too much shear strength and don't disperse quickly enough to flow through our pipelines. Up until recently, good old-fashioned toilet paper was good enough to do the job. It's a product that disperses in about 8 seconds. Now, there's a myriad of products, wipes products, some claiming to be flushable. There's wipes for everybody. If you see up on the screen, we've got wipes for puppies. Some claim to be flushable, and many that are made, as I mentioned, of plastic fibers that have taught us all that successfully passing through a toilet does not a flushable product make. Worse yet, we're up against the marketing machine. Yes, gentlemen, unless you use wipes, there's probably something wrong with you. And who can compete with shittens? And please note that they've got Jenny McCarthy, out there. She says, I found this year's stocking stuffer, shittens. And this is a real product, people, okay? I'd like to know what's going wrong in your world if you need to be using something like this, quite frankly. So, according to representatives of the Non-Woven Fabrics Association, they call themselves INDA, some of you I'm sure have heard of them, much of what's being found in our system is paper towels. That's not their wipes. But my question on that is paper towels have been around for a long time, so why have they not been a problem for us before? In addition, from surveys conducted in the New England area, about half of what people are buying in the store are baby wipes. And you might ask yourself why that is, and that's because baby wipes are the cheapest product on the market. So whenever, customers go in and they see flushable, they go look at the price tag. Oh no, actually, I want to buy this one over here because it's cheaper. But of course, the problem is that those baby wipes are not designed in any way thinking about dispersion, and most of them are plastic. So that's, sort of leading to a problem that we think in our industry is the biggest part of this issue is consumer confusion. Why can I flush this product but not this product? They look the same. And if I'm flushing these wipes, why can't I just flush paper towels? Again, they kind of all look the same. So what I feel is that these products have essentially opened the floodgates on our system, and nobody really asked us. So since these products have come to market, this is probably one of our first pictures that made its way around inside Central San. Back in 2009, our Moraga pump station. So we've been dealing with this essentially since that time period. And so Colleen and I are here today to share our approach on the war on wipes. Here's another shot of that, and yeah, those are condoms in there too, which people like to flush as well. So, as I mentioned, 1,500 miles of collection system. This is a shot of areas in our collection system that were found with high accumulations of non-dispersables. So, a significant portion of our service area. So the way we handle this is what I kind of refer to as a three-tier approach. Targeted outreach, source control, which Colleen will talk about, and then general outreach. So in terms of the targeted outreach process, we get reports back from our field operators about what they're seeing out there, especially if we have a blockage. And then the scheduler notifies our collection system engineer. And then our collection system planning engineer traces upstream pipes from that particular point where there was a blockage or a clog. And from there generates a mailing list. And then we are fortunate enough to have a wonderful communication services group and facility here where we can actually print these products out and mail them out. So we're able to do this all in-house, and I feel very fortunate that we're able to do that. So here's kind of walking through the process. Like I said, we look at, in our system and see where we have a blockage. We go into our ArcSnap model, it's what we currently have for hydraulic modeling of our collection system, and then we trace upstream from there and look at the pipes, that contribute to that sewer shed, so to speak. And then from there, we look at land use codes and generate the mailing list, as I mentioned. And from there, we send our postcard, which we are making available copies of these to you. I've placed them on the corner of the table over there. And on your way out, if you'd like, please, take one of these. Just within the last couple of weeks, we were notified from the WEF, Water Environment Federation, House of Delegates, that we've been voted as one of the top 5 outreach pieces on the topic of wipes. So we're really proud of this postcard. So when we find wipes in a neighborhood, this is what is coming in their mailbox. Wipes, clog pipes, what can I do? And then on the back, we show that disgusting clump of wipes and condoms and whatever else, probably dental floss in there, and say that, a clump like this was cleared from your neighborhood. Basically, see what's going on in this neighborhood. And so I think we've had some pretty effective results on that. We're tracking that over time, and eventually we'll be able to report back results on that. So like I said, feel free to help yourself to one of these postcards, and we're even willing to share the artwork as well if any of your agencies would like to conduct such outreach. So this is kind of one of the components of our outreach that we do, and this is mainly, of course, focused to the residential. When there is any sort of commercial, or I guess industrial, not really, more commercial, right? That's whenever we call in our source control or pre-treatment staff. And so here's a little bit more that this outreach is scalable, targeted. We've mailed over to 2,800 postcards in the last 2 years. We are deragging pump stations less frequently, but we're still installing grinders. So it's the war on wipes. It's not a battle. So now I'm going to turn it over to our Senior Environmental Compliance Inspector, Colleen Henry, to talk about when there is that commercial or business component and how she handles that. So come on over, Colleen.
Thank you. So our industries better not be flushing these, or they're gonna hear from me. So it mostly is the commercial segment, and I'm gonna show you guys some field examples of when we came in contact with these wipes in the field, from when our engineer came to us and said, hey, I've looked at all the residential area, it looks like it could be a commercial facility. So we have several ways to identify these. Sometimes we identify them actually through inspections. When we're doing inspections, they can come from assisted living, hospitals, even schools, large retirement homes. But mostly we get it through the collection system maintenance reports that Melody introduced you guys to. And then, of course, our pump stations call us now and then, having these horrible issues. So you can see the pictures at the bottom that Melody shared with you. Obviously, we get some phone calls when they pull these out of the pump station. So a case study that I'm going to show you is from our Moraga pump station, the one that we've had just a lot of problems from. There are 2 assisted living facilities upstream of that pump station. They both discharge to it. There's also a large residential sewer shed though. So, you know, you've kind of got both sides of this, the residential and the commercial, and they've had a historic problem with these rags. So we went ahead and conducted inspections at both assisted living facilities, and we found some interesting information. So they both use these large non-flushable wipes that they buy from a vendor. And when I say large, let me just give you not an example. This is what they use. This is a wipe, and this is kind of the normal size of a wipe. You guys have seen probably baby wipes, Clorox wipes, but they're not that big. They're bigger than that. Let me see if I can open it. Hold on. So they're not this big. They're this big. So this is what the assisted living facilities are using. These things are ginormous, and they do not break down, believe me. I fished these out of the sewer, which I will show you in just a minute. So they're using these, but they said, hey, our staff is highly trained. They know not to flush these because it clogs our lateral before it clogs your system. So they know not to do it. But the residents are allowed to buy these from our vendor. So like, oh, okay. So you've got residents buying these big packs of wipes. And who knows what they do when they go into their apartment and shut the door. So we said, okay, let's do a field investigation. We set up 2 different times, tried to hit 2 different times of day, expecting, you know, one might be heavier usage than the other. And we used a wipes catcher, very fancy, I'll show you in a minute, to catch these wipes as they came downstream. So just to give you a visual, down here in the corner is our pump station. We've got the upstream residential sewer shed that's off the map there, but it's up there. And you can see AL1 and AL2, that's assisted living 1 and 2, right next door to each other. Our manhole investigation was just downstream of the 2 assisted living facilities. That's our fancy wipes catcher. I know it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but it's kind of like a metal lacrosse stick, I guess, all built by hand using zip ties. But as you know, as crude as it is, it actually worked quite well. So we went fishing. We stood and caught wipes for an hour at a time, and this is what we pulled out. So the first investigation, which from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., you can see we caught 1 wipe in 1 hour, and it did not match the assisted living wipe. So I was kind of, okay, you know, not too exciting. So we said, let's do it again. So we did it in the morning when we expected more usage, and this time we did catch 3 wipes in 1 hour. 2 were these, you know, nice giant ones that match the assisted living facility, and then 1 was not. So it was just interesting to us. It's obvious that the assisted living facility is flushing some, and then we have these other wipes that we don't know where they're coming from. It could be from the residential area. And 3 wipes might not sound like a lot, but multiply that over 24 hours, put it directly into a pump station, it's a lot of wipes. So we found that a variety of wipes were flushed. The vendor sold ones were some of them. Could not conclude the source of the other smaller wipes. We probably need to do a longer field investigation if we really want to hone in on this and figure out all the different types of wipes. So what we did was we sent a letter to the assisted living facility asking for their cooperation. So we're approaching this in a very friendly manner at this point. Immediately train all their staff, keep records of that training, provide outreach to their residents. But we did do our little tagline in this letter that if the problem persists, they may be required to implement costly alternatives like a grinder. So we kind of put that over their heads. So moving on just quickly to one more case study, we received a call from our collection system crew that a plug occurred from rags. And again, it's kind of the same thing. We have multi-use residential, some office buildings, an assisted living facility, a nursing home. So, you know, we're kind of seeing a repeated problem out there. We interviewed the executive director. It wasn't that different. They said our staff is highly trained. They know not to flush wipes. However, the residents buy wipes for their personal use. So, you know, it's just like any residential area, really. They admitted that the residents have actually clogged their own toilets with these wipes to the point where the whole toilet had to be removed and deragged. So they're very committed to trying to resolve this problem. and they were doing outreach at their monthly meeting to their residents. And of course, we offer our assistance, and we're there to provide outreach and education. We actually did go to one of the assisted living facilities and gave a talk about wipes. So we need to do more follow-up at, all of these different assisted living facilities. We're just kind of in the battle right now. I don't know, Melody says it's a war, and I think it is, and it's just a constant, influx of all of this information, and we just received one this week that's from another area that had some commercial and residential, so we're trying to figure that out. So just in conclusion, our inspections show that the commercial facility employees understand that flushing wipes is not good, but controlling the behavior of the residents is very challenging. Field investigations are a bit challenging just because there's so many wipes and so many sources. Trying to identify that sometimes, it's like a needle in a haystack. You know you have them, you just don't necessarily know where they came from. So we did have one little piece of good news when we were doing an inspection. A hospital put this up on their own. We didn't ask them to do it. So they obviously know that flushing wipes is a problem. They've probably had problems within their own internal lateral. So I'm going to pass it back to Melody, who's going to talk more about outreach.
Thank you, Colleen. So this is the third prong of our three-prong approach that I mentioned, and this would be just the general outreach that we do. So last fall, we actually did a campaign in-house. We developed all the collateral, again, for the Wipes, Clog, Pipes theme. And so, as part of that outreach, we have been running articles in our Pipeline community newsletter, which, we issue 3 times a year. And then we took advantage of opportunities both locally and regionally to leverage this particular campaign and get the word out, not just to our service area, but to the Bay Area, essentially, as a whole. So I'll talk about that. So we partnered with our nearby neighbor, Mountain View Sanitary District. And they have a billboard on their property that they get to control the message on twice a year. And so fortunately, we timed this just right that we got to team up for their September billboard last year. This along I-680 sees a lot of traffic. I think it's estimated it's something like 70,000 cars a month. So a lot of people get to see our message. And, again, just the wipes, clog, pipes, very simple message. And then we also, as part of the Bay Area Pollution Prevention Group, I hope some of you know BAPPG, it's one of the committees of BACWA, we did online banner ads through Facebook also to support this campaign. We did those again actually this year, and it's a really effective and inexpensive way to get our message out. So I really do recommend that as an outreach method. And so as well, we bought the URLs for wipesclogpipes.com, .net, and .org. So if you go to any of those, it'll redirect you to our regional website called baywise.org and this page about your toilet and how wipes clog pipes. So it was, like I said, it was a really effective way to kind of leverage our message and really get it out there. And something else we did just this year as part of our Bring Your Kids to Work Day is we got these little stress toilets, which for those of us in the wastewater industry, we need those because of these wipes. So a little something to take with you from your trip to Central San, that brown paper bag there on the corner as well, if you want to grab one on your way out so you can put it on your desk. I mean, I think we in the wastewater industry can't have enough toilet, gizmos and gadgets. So feel free to pick one of those up too, and they say wipes, clog pipes, okay? So as I mentioned about this being a war and not a battle, this is a prediction of the annual market growth for the non-woven fabrics industry. So again, this is not over. This is so going to continue, and we need to keep at it. So for some final thoughts, I wanted to mention some things. Some of you are probably aware of what's going on the bigger picture on the national level. NACWA, WEF, and APWA have been meeting with representatives from INDA, the woven fabrics industry. They formed a technical work group over this summer and had 3 in-person 2-day meetings to try to come to agreement on this issue between our industries. And so they had completed their 3rd and final in-person meeting in late August, and from what I had heard, a last best and final offer had been presented. I've heard that I think it turned out okay in terms of being able to reach agreement, but we still haven't heard any of those details yet. So, you know, as they always say, the devil's in the details in terms of what, you know, if this is really going to work for our industry or, you know, or not. And so the focus of those particular meetings were about labeling and more clear labeling in terms of some products say flushable, but the ones that aren't really don't speak very clearly to it. And, you know, we'd like to see kind of a no flush label at the very least. They also were thinking about flushability and those guidelines and standards for dispersion and dispersibility. And then finally, you know, my issue with this is plastics. I mean, even if we find a product that can break down and disperse quickly enough to flow through our systems, do we want plastic fibers like this coming to our systems? I mean, if we're moving here in this state to indirect and, you know, eventually direct potable reuse, we don't need any additional challenges in, you know, in treating that water and fouling membranes with plastic fibers. So, you know, depending on how this agreement came out, you know, with our industry representatives in INDA, we may want to consider legal action in the future. And in particular, Federal Trade Commission claims for false marketing, which, you know, if you look at some of these products that say flushable, they just really are not. They don't break down.